As tensions continue to rise over Ukraine, a crucial question looms. Can Europe stand against Russia without U.S. military support? With U.S. President Donald Trump signaling a shift in America's role, European leaders face mounting pressure to bolster their defenses. The UK's Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is seeking security assurances, but the response from Washington remains uncertain. Meanwhile, Russia's military spending has surged, outpacing Europe's collective defense budget. With no NATO-backed security guarantees on the table, the stakes have never been higher. Will Europe step up, or is Ukraine's fate already sealed? Stay with us to find out how this story unfolds. And don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates. During a joint press conference with the UK Prime Minister at the White House, President Trump made a striking remark, emphasizing Britain's military strength while leaving key questions unanswered. When asked about security guarantees for Ukraine, Trump stated, "The British have incredible soldiers, incredible military, and they can take care of themselves." His statement, however, did not confirm whether the UK military or Europe as a whole could effectively counter Russian aggression without direct US intervention. While American military officials publicly commend Britain's armed forces, private discussions reveal growing concerns. A senior US general recently criticized the UK's military downsizing, noting that the British Army now has only around 70,000 regular troops, far fewer than what might be required in a large-scale conflict. According to the International Institute of Strategic Studies, Russia's military spending has increased by 41%, now accounting for 6.7% of its GDP. In contrast, the UK is set to spend only 2.5% by 2027. This disparity raises concerns over whether European forces alone could deter further Russian advances. Trump's remarks also suggest that US involvement in Ukraine will be primarily economic, focused on mining interests rather than direct military intervention. He implied that economic influence could serve as a deterrent, but even his administration acknowledges that hard military power will be necessary, supplied by European nations. The pressing question remains: does Europe have the military capability to deter Russia? Currently, the answer is no. That is why Sir Keir Starmer has been pushing for additional security commitments from the US. However, he left Washington without any concrete guarantees. In response to Russia's growing threat, some European nations are reversing past defense cuts and increasing military spending. However, even with renewed efforts, European forces alone would struggle to provide the estimated 100,000, 200,000 troops that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy deems necessary for deterrence. Instead, Western officials have proposed a force of around 30,000 troops, backed by European jets and warships to secure key areas like Ukraine's cities, ports, and nuclear power stations. This strategy would focus on reassurance rather than frontline engagement. European fighter jets and warships would monitor Ukrainian airspace and shipping lanes, but officials acknowledge this alone would not be enough to deter a determined Russian assault. This limitation is why European leaders are seeking a US backstop, a strategic presence that would provide confidence that European forces would not face a direct Russian challenge. Officials argue that at the very least the US should oversee European operations with command and control support and deploy US fighter jets from bases in Poland and Romania. Another critical issue is military logistics. While European nations have increased their supply of weapons to Ukraine, the US has provided the most advanced systems, such as long-range missiles and sophisticated air defense units. Western officials stress that Europe still relies on American military infrastructure for large-scale operations. NATO's 2011 intervention in Libya exposed similar weaknesses, with European forces taking the lead but depending heavily on US support for refueling, intelligence, and targeting. Without American backing, Europe's ability to sustain a prolonged military engagement remains in question. Sir Keir Starmer's visit to Washington aimed to secure greater commitments from the US, but so far the only assurance has been Trump's reaffirmation of NATO's Article 5, which guarantees collective defense for member states. However, Ukraine is not a NATO member, and current US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has made it clear that any international forces deployed in Ukraine would not be part of a NATO mission or covered by the alliance's security umbrella. As European leaders prepare for high-stakes talks, the divide within Europe itself becomes apparent. France appears willing to commit troops, while other northern European nations, Denmark, Sweden, and the Baltic states, are open to the idea but hesitant without firm US guarantees. Meanwhile, key players like Germany, Italy, and Spain remain opposed to direct involvement. For now, Europe's strength of will is being tested. With an emergency summit of European leaders on the horizon, Starmer will soon find out whether Trump's statements will be enough to rally support for a European-led military presence in Ukraine. But one critical question remains. Could Britain alone take on Russia in a military confrontation? Despite Russia's battlefield setbacks, the answer remains a resounding no. Europe faces a difficult road ahead, and without US support, its ability to deter further Russian aggression remains uncertain. Stay tuned for further developments, and don't forget to subscribe to stay informed on this rapidly evolving situation.